We are so happy that we can finally get our son medical treatment, the treatment we've been trying for over a decade to get him. And the fact that it's taken 5 months in this process is heartbreaking, but at least he's finally going to get help. We pray that he will end up at the state hospital in Gainesville so we can at least be close enough to see him and as his guardians to monitor him. But we're just so thankful that finally today he's going to get the treatment we've fought for over a decade to get him.
Yeah, I'm like my wife. I'm thankful that the judge made his ruling. I'm thankful that Attorney James Smith and Janier were able to work with the court system and achieve this finding, along with the doctors, that our son was incompetent. Me and my wife were heartbroken that this was not discovered ahead of time, where we could have gotten him the appropriate mental health treatment before this tragic situation happened. And it's taken us 5 months to get to this place. And we're concerned about his well-being, and we want to make sure that he's in a safe and secure facility, hopefully somewhere in Gainesville, Florida, North Florida Hospital, where he can get treatment. And since the court has granted us guardianship, my wife and I plan on trying to be a part of this process, and we're hoping it's at a location close enough that we can get back and forth up there to support him during this ordeal. It's been very difficult on our son, it's been difficult on our family, and it's created a concern in me as a father and as a citizen. I know now that my son is not the only mental health person in this situation. And it disturbs me that he and other mental health patients can be lost in this system where their mental health conditions doesn't allow them to fight or stand up for themselves or their rights. And it's disturbing because I know there has to be thousands of other people, families like myself and my family, as well as my son, who have these mental health issues and they're suffering. And when they come in contact with the criminal justice system, the process is atrocious. And it doesn't work, and we're dealing with a broken system where you got to go through a tragedy like this to get treatment on the back end. When I tried to seek help through the agencies, law enforcement and Grace Point and others, to try to get my son help and an intervention before this happened.
I think about how many times, yes, we got him Baker acted, or we went to the police and they wouldn't Baker act him, and how many times they would say, well, you know, being mentally ill isn't a crime. Well, it's not until it is. And before it's a crime, there's no help. And after there's a crime, there's all this well-oiled machine to get him into a criminal justice system, but it took 5 months to get him to a hospital. There's something very wrong with that picture. 5 months, and there's no surprise here. Every report about Mike has said the same thing, but it took 5 months for us to be able to get him to a hospital. People need to remember a mental illness is a medical condition just like diabetes or heart disease or cancer, but we wouldn't wait that long for someone to get that kind of treatment, yet this is what we've had to endure 5 months. Imagine seeing your child suffering, decompensating, not getting any better, and not being able to get him the help that he needs. What's even worse is, what if we weren't the parents that we are? What about all of those parents who are out there who don't know how to advocate for their children? All of those people who are lost in the system. That's what's the travesty of this system. This system is so broken that we have to find a way to fix it.
Now, from a legal standpoint, I know that there was, and I'll direct this to the attorney, there was the debate between the North Florida Hospital and one here. What is the concern there, and why specifically North Florida Hospital?
Well, for a variety of reasons, but I just want to make one clarification that it's really not up to the judge, it's not up to the court. These things are decided by the hospital and the medical system. But you know, we do want him to be close to his family. They are his legal guardians, and we do want them to be involved in this process. That's a very important consideration. And at this point, we've put it in the ear of the judge that this is something that we would like to see happen. But really it's going to be up to the hospitals at that point, and we hope they do the right thing by putting him in a place where he can have contact with his family, which will aid him in the process of getting better.
We'd like one thing, just one thing to go right for us at this point. Just one thing. It took us 5 months to get here. Can we at least get him into a hospital that's close enough for us to help him, to be there for him, to help with his healing, and help get through this next phase? That's the one thing that we are praying what will be the next effect.
Do you worry, though, that because he wasn't accepting treatment in the jail, that he won't accept it at this hospital?
That's a great point, and I think that's the key difference.
Maybe more
In the facility, treatment is optional. At the hospital, treatment is mandatory. That's exactly what happened at Grace Point. He didn't want to agree to treatment, but we had to sign for him to get treatment. Mikeese does not even realize he has a mental illness. That's part of the problem. So no, he's not going to get treatment because he doesn't think he has an issue.
And the jail system is not set up for treatment. It's not a therapeutic environment. It's not conducive to true treatment. It's a Band-Aid operation, and we want our son in a facility that has the professionals who can address these mental health issues that has, plagued them for this long and played a role in this whole ordeal. And like I said, my concern is this is not just about my son anymore. There are other mental health families coming behind us. There's other tragedies waiting to happen. There are other people out there suffering right now, holding on, who want treatment for their family members, who want somewhere to put their family members. They're recognizing decompensating behavior in them, and they need to have something that will save their family members from getting into a criminal-oriented situation where they have to be incarcerated to try to get some form of treatment. We're getting now what we wanted,
years ago.
Last year before we got in this situation. And it's disturbing. It's really disturbing, and we're not the last family. And the state of Florida and the people who control these systems need to wake up and realize there are going to be a flood of mental health cases coming forward because there are people out there who do not have access to adequate placement for their family members.
Can I just ask, do you know how soon your son will be transferred over? Days, weeks, do you know?
We don't know, so that's what we've told. It could be
Like
anything
our
from
attorney
2
said,
weeks to 4 weeks, we don't know.
Makes its own decisions, so we don't know.
But that's the continued victimization of this process, and Mikeese in the process, and as family members, that we have nothing definitive that we've been able to hang on to accept his arrest. That's the one thing that we knew what was happening, and we participated in the whole way. But ever since then, there's nothing we can count on, nothing that we can hold on to. And as a family, trying to help our loved one with a mental illness, it's tragic. And here's the warning call for the rest of the public. This is still happening every day, that people who are mentally unstable are being released on the streets. And until we do something about this, the general public needs to know that you are one psychotic break away from becoming the next Pedro Aguirre, and that's the travesty of all of this. We have to do better.
Have you spoken to your son recently?
We have not talked to him. He's not engaging with us right now, which is typical for this phase of his psychosis. So unfortunately not.
Have you spoken to or heard from the Aguirres?
We have not. We always send our thoughts and our prayers are with them, especially around this time of the year. We've just gone through the holidays. This was very hard for us going through our first holiday without Mikeese, and we know how hard it must be for those 2 little children to not have their father, and for a wife to have lost her husband. It's heartbreaking for us. Their children are the ages of our grandchildren, and so we grieve with them and we grieve for them, and we also grieve for ourselves because it should have never happened. It should have never happened.
Once he goes and gets treatment, then after he's restored, he will then possibly go to trial. How do you guys feel about that, and what happens after that?
We feel like, when the time comes to cross that bridge, we'll cross that bridge with our attorneys. Right now, we're more concerned with our son getting the mental health treatment that he needs than what's going to happen with him legally. That's a court decision. That's not our decision, but we have a great legal team that we're relying on to help us in that process when that process comes. Right now, my wife and I are very happy that the courts have found this finding that our son is incompetent to stand trial now, and that he's not being pushed through a system unjustly and charged with conditions that he's not able to understand legally. So we'll cross that bridge when the time comes.
Any final message to the public?
This is still a very broken system, and so my message is the same that it's been from day one. The system is so broken, and if we don't do something to address it, then we're all culpable. We're all complicit in this if we don't speak up, if we don't advocate for change, and until we see the change, I hate the fact that this can happen again. That's the thing that's so frustrating.
And my last message to the public is mental health is a very serious condition, and people struggling with mental health conditions, they need their families, when they're not involved in the criminal justice system, but once they get involved in the criminal justice system, they need their family more than ever.
Yes.
There's absolutely no way a mental health person suffering under those kind of conditions can stand up under the weight of a criminal justice system that crush people every day. It crush innocent people with mental health conditions every single day.
I'll have the attorney say her name for the record and spell it, please.
Jenner Hines, Jhenerr, last name is Hines. And I do want to make one final comment. This is something that's been going on for quite some time, but I do want to say that we've made significant headway in the past week in getting things moving along with this case, and we do want to commend the judge for realizing what a serious issue this is, taking it seriously, putting a deadline on it, and making sure that it got done and that this evaluation got done so that Mike Keys can get the treatment he needs. We also have to be grateful to Andrew Warren and the state attorney's office for also recognizing that this is a serious issue, and we hope that going forward that we will have that attitude so that we can move this case along, number one, so that Mike Keys can get the treatment that he needs, and so that justice can be served, not just for him, not just for people who are facing mental health issues, but for the general public that also suffers when things like this are allowed to happen.
When is the next court date? Do we know?
At this point, we don't. Right now, he will be sent off to the hospital for treatment, and it will be up to the hospital to determine when he's ready to be put back in front of the court.
Is it a hospital just specifically for mental health?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
it's a secured hospital.
Okay.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.